Guru Nation, welcome back to another episode of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru from our home away from home.
Away from home?
It's not. It's our office for
wish
today.
It was home away from home.
It's our office for the next hour, maybe. We're doing business meetings here in LA. We stumbled into a rooftop bar with a colleague, a friend in the industry.
Sure.
We're headed up to seal the deal on some biotech stuff. So a lot of stuff with the CRO. A lot of exciting stuff, but we wanted to take this time. We have like a half an hour break before we shoot another podcast, which we'll all three be in it somehow. So the game we're playing, I don't know what number podcast we're on.
Oh, that game.
I don't know. Choose something. Like 280 something, right?
No, it was like what was the last one that I was at? It was like 278, so yeah, maybe it is 280 something.
Yeah, I have no idea, but we'll post this soon. Hello to LinkedIn and Facebook as well.
Let's say 281.
Okay.
That would be my guess.
So, we're going to go through some viewer questions, some listener questions, and this will be the podcast, right?
All right.
So one of them, this is actually a good one because there's a lot of people. I got another one today that's very similar to this. Let me read it, okay? Hi, Dan. Would you mind to kindly share with us your opinions on the niche of a PhD, not a physician, but a PhD in a medical-related field in clinical research? So what are the job prospects? And I got a related one today from someone who's a pharmacist.
So it depends on I think it depends.
So from a pharmacist also.
Sure.
Right? So it's the same thing.
Yeah, and I would say it depends on the indication, I think, right? Because if it's psychiatric, there's a lot of things you can do.
Right, but let's go through, we got some time, so let's go through the career roadmap for a non-physician.
Right.
PhD or a pharmacist, right? Like a doctorate level.
Right.
Still medically related, but not a physician. Like, they want to know, can they be CRAs? Can they be site owners?
Oh, absolutely.
Can they
be
project
both of those.
managers? Can they be PIs? Can they want to know these things because we're always talking about CRAs and
Fair enough.
PIs, right?
Fair enough.
So, but there's a whole nother world out there that are not in that boat.
First, you have to break into the industry before you can do pretty much any of those things, right? You have to gain some experience.
So how would a PhD do that? They're already in a medically related field. So, I mean, it would depend on what.
Okay, so, right, it would depend on what. If you can be a rater of some sort, that'd be a good way. Mm-hmm. Certainly you could be a coordinator, also a good way to gain some experience. I don't think you'd want to stay there very long at that level.
Okay.
It's just a matter of gaining some experience. Whatever way you can get into the industry and gain some experience. But after that, you literally could do anything, right? You could certainly be a project manager with enough experience. You certainly could be a CRA with enough experience. You could even be a PI with enough experience, though that's the most difficult one.
And then even beyond those things, those are like mainly at the site level, right? You can, I mean, we know we're about to go in Ventura, which is the county north of LA, to meet with someone that we're going to set up a deal with. Mm-hmm. She hires PhDs that write her protocols, come up with the hard science behind the drugs.
Absolutely.
It's not the doctor doing that. The doctor is the PI, the doctor is writing the protocol as well, but she has PhDs, she has scientists, she has people that understand hard science. Mm-hmm. Perhaps maybe more than doctors, because that's all they study, right?
Again, outside of the science aspect, you still need some research experience.
Correct.
So do most of those things.
So how, because a PhD or a pharmacist, you know, our usual advice is go intern somewhere, but for a PhD or a pharmacist, the opportunity costs are too high to go work for free.
I would say, I mean, you're going to take a pay cut, but, you know, go be a study coordinator somewhere for 6 months.
Or a sub-investigator.
Yeah. Though, you know, maybe a lot of PIs may not be interested in that, a lot of MDs, if you have absolutely no experience. But then some may. It just depends.
Psychiatric clinics would hire you because they're always looking for psychometric raters.
Exactly. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah, I was just talking with Kobe about this yesterday because he's a psychometric rater. He actually used to want to be a CRA, now he wants to be a psychometric rater.
Yeah, well, that's easy to do.
Yeah, and he can do that as a contractor. Like, he's already getting hit up by recruiters.
Yeah.
You know, to do things on the side, like central rating skills.
Yeah.
So and he's only a master's degree.
Yeah.
If you're a PhD, you can do some of the skills that only PhD levels and higher can do. I don't know if there's higher than PhD, but PhD levels can do.
Which oftentimes is the case. I mean, most Well, for sure, almost all rating scales these days, you have to be a master or higher. Almost all.
So there's a couple options. If you're anything near the psych field and you're a PhD, you can do that. If you are not in the psych
tacos
field,
look good.
yeah, those tacos look fantastic. If you're not in the psych field and you're a PhD, you can be a clinical scientist. You could be a regulatory affairs.
Yeah.
You know the guy we work with in the other company, King?
Yeah.
He's a PhD.
Yeah, I know he is.
Right? He can help. He understands the hard science. He knows how to...
Again,
so there's more than just the CRA. And yeah, you can do CRA.
Again, you need experience. But how do you start? You have to start at a lower level position, typically. Entry level of some sort. You won't have to stay there long, I don't think.
Have you heard of CROs hiring PhDs to be CRAs?
Sure. But again, they typically
I've never met one.
I actually had a conversation with one on an elevator one time. It was in Dallas, investigational meeting.
Oh, explain.
No, he had told me he has a PhD and that he's doing this now.
What is this, CRA?
CRA.
Okay.
He'd been doing it for about 2 years, but he said that's not the end game for him.
But he got started as a CRA.
He actually got started as a
okay,
CRA.
so it's possible then for
It
this
is.
person who asked the question.
It is, but
A CRA.
I think
This is where you're supposed to tell him, take the CRA Academy. You're going to get
Sure.
some experience.
well, absolutely, that's different.
TheCRAacademy.com.
That's different. I'm speaking just straight off the street, becoming a CRA,
Right.
with no understanding of the.
But if they're
research
watching or
industry.
listening, you now know we have a CRA Academy. If you're a PhD, you do our CRA Academy, you do the internship, you're not only going to have your PhD, which you've earned, you're now going to have industry experience that you can take and become a CRA, take and become a project manager, and then from there, that's your starting point. For a lot of people, that's their end point.
Right.
For you, that's going to be your starting point. Where do you go from there? Like the guy you ran into in the elevator.
Well, his end goal was project manager. He didn't like to travel.
Okay. Yeah, so you could figure out your own career roadmap from there,
Right.
right?
Right.
Okay, what about the pharmacist? Because the pharmacist
I think
is
it's-
another world.
I think it's the same thing.
I think
really.
there's different angles for pharmacists. So there's, first of all, a lot of big sites like universities, they need pharmacists
True.
to work there. Like where I monitor, this big
True.
one of the biggest
Well,
research
good point,
centers.
because you won't take as much of a pay and cut if
Right.
you were to take that position,
Right.
and you would gain some research experience.
Correct. So go
Some
at
knowledge.
a university near you that does research and ask to be a pharmacist. Now they're going to have you do regular pharmacist stuff, but also you can be involved in the research. You can tell them you're interested in doing research.
Yep.
From there, I've never actually met a pharmacist that it was a CRA. Have you?
I don't think so.
Usually they work for biotechs or sponsors. And again, very similar to the PhD people. They get
Yeah.
into the hard science, the pharmacokinetics,
Yep.
right? They understand these things. They study these things. So a good entry point, again, for a pharmacist, much like the PhD, might be the universities. And for the PhD too, you can go to a lot of universities near you. They're looking for PhDs also. Universities,
More of a demand
they like
for a
these
PharmD, I think.
titles.
But yeah,
They
I agree.
like titles. It's still old school
Yeah, I agree.
in those places. So let's get to the other question. I got another good question, but while I'm looking, any last advice for this pharmacist or this PhD?
You just gotta get a start. That's it. I
Get your
said
start.
that, but you just gotta get a start. If you're interested in breaking into the research industry, you just have to find a way to start. And if you can withstand the pay and cut, that's also helpful.
Okay. Got another one.
Cut and pay, excuse me.
Got another one from another well-educated person. I don't even know what these things are, but DHSC, MPH, which is a Master's in Public Health, but I don't know what a DHSC, and maybe a Doctor of Health Services. Okay. Dan, I have a hospitalist who may be interested in doing research. I'm thinking if I get an inpatient study, follow-up visits would be done within the patient's primary care or specialist. How do you collaborate with and get buy-in with physicians who may not be interested in having a study coordinator come to their office to do follow-ups?
Well, I'm not sure I understand that question, but if I do understand it, it sounds like he's going to have a hospitalist as a PI. Patients are going to be seen at the hospital.
Patients
the
will
coordinator is going to come to that hospital.
Patients will be sourced from the hospital through this hospitalist, like whomever qualifies for a study that this hospitalist has.
That could be a disclaimer. That could be against whoever your PI. That could be against their contract with the hospital.
That's right. That's part of the content. Like, that's one of the big issues here.
Yeah.
Another issue is what this person's alluding to. How do they get their sub-investigators? They're going to rely, because the patient doesn't live in the hospital. They're maybe there for a day, maybe there for an hour.
Right.
They're going to go get treated. Like when my wife recently had a food poisoning. Went to the hospital. She was there for 2 hours, and they said, okay, this is what we're going to give you. You need to go see your PCP. Right? In her case, if that hospitalist said, hey, we also have a study for you. Right? It's the same thing. She's still going to go to her PCP. Now you need her PCP to be the sub-I. That's a hard sell. So this person's asking, how do I do that?
That's not a hard sell, but it's also very difficult and complicated because
you
they're all going to have, well, not only that, but they're all going to have different PCPs. They're not going to have the same PCP, so you have to have relationships with who knows how many doctors.
Right. Hopefully this hospitalist has like 1 or 2 core PCPs that they refer out to, and then you just need buy-in from 1 or 2 people as opposed to buy-in from everybody. Right. So, but it goes back to our thing. How do you attract more physicians to want to do research? I mean, it's the same thing. It's just a different context, but it's ultimately the same theme. How do you attract more physicians who are research naive to do research? And if you're a site owner, you need to be doing this all the time.
See, I just think it's overcomplicating matters. I would just have my PI be the one presenting this to the patients and even potentially sending them to my research clinic after their visit, right? Before going to their PCP, hey, go over there and get screened.
How would you do that? Like, break it down, like a recipe.
So the patient comes in, sees the PI at the hospital, who's the hospitalist. That patient potentially qualifies for some given study. The PI needs to present the study to that patient. Here's the contact information for the site. Call and make an appointment. I'll see you there as the PI. That's how that should be presented, opposed to having to worry about presenting this to sub-Is who are then going to proposition the patient about the study. No, that's too complicated. The PI is going to be the one that has to do the promoting for the study.
Okay.
My opinion.
And we have webinars on how to get physicians to be interested in research. We have a site owner academy, right?
Yeah.
Which is, week 1 is how to get physicians. And that's even if you're an established site, even if you're an established site network, you need to always be on the offense looking for physicians.
You absolutely do. But again, with hospitalists, you have to be very leery of hospitalists because oftentimes they're not allowed to work outside of the hospital. They're not allowed to refer patients outside the hospital to some other business that they have. There's just all kinds of complications with that. So, like, we have 2 hospitalists.
We do.
PIs.
Yes.
And neither of them can use the patients they see at the hospital for their research.
So the site is left to recruit patients on their own.
Yep.
Luckily for us, we're decent at that, but it's a lot more helpful. Certainly for a brand new site just starting out, where you don't have a database of your own, you're relying on these physicians, and then you're relying on their colleagues. And even if they do have a database, you exhaust these databases. The site I monitored at yesterday, she has a huge practice. They've only screened 7 patients, and they've only enrolled 2.
Is that due to lack of patients that qualify, or is that due to overwork in other areas so they can't dedicate?
No, they've exhausted their database.
Wow.
And now they're looking, and this is the best site in this study.
Wow.
There's 9 other sites that are behind this person.
Well, that just gets back to the...
As far as enrollment, half of them are not doing anything. 0 screened, 0 enrolled.
It just gets back to the same old predicament always with most studies, right?
Recruitment.
Yeah. Just lack of.
So it's a good segue. How much time are we at, Fina?
14:26.
Okay, good. One more question for this podcast. This is a classic episode.
Classic.
No, I don't know if it is. Last question, tying into databases, all right? Electronic health record systems. Dan, I have an idea to connect, allowing EHR systems, which is electronic health record systems, to communicate between one another. All right, this is some software guy.
Okay.
We've been trying to find a product to build for hospitals, and that led us to do clinical studies. So, very much related to the last topic. They see this as an opportunity to pre-screen patients.
Sure.
To ease, and we've met with these people at DIA. That's
No, I
not
was
the
just
same
thinking.
group.
I was thinking that this is the
This is
exact same
not
people.
them. This
They
is
want to
not
go install
them.
hardware and
Yeah. This is not them.
Right.
But why don't you mention that story without mentioning the name?
I don't know how much of a story it is, but there's a software company that
Virtual trials.
right.
They're riding the bandwagon.
They're propositioning clinics or sites, whatever, to allow them for $3,000. They'll pay these physicians. If you allow us access to your database, right? If you allow us to install some hardware to capture all of your EHR, then you'll receive a $3,000 payment. It's very simple for the doctor. They don't have to really do anything. The problem with that, in my mind, is that this will be a continuous thing, right? You're always capturing the patients. Who knows what they're doing with that data, right? As a physician.
Yeah. Who do you trust them?
Right.
When I brought this up to a doctor, she said,
But a lot of doctors are doing this.
right, but when I brought this business model, it's not mine, but I just told her about it. She said those doctors are ridiculous because they can be sued. The patients never consented
I would agree.
for a third party to have access, even if it's de-identified.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's de-identified.
Even if.
I don't see how you could sue over that if you don't know who it is.
You know why? Because security breaches do happen.
Yeah.
That's
True.
why.
True.
They have a case.
True. Especially if they can prove a security breach.
When you go to a doctor, you go to the doctor, I go to the doctor.
Hopefully
I
everybody
expect
does.
that my records are kept with them.
Right.
Even if my doctor were to tell me your information is going to be de-identified and shared with a third party, I would say no.
Right.
Right?
Right. If you were gonna,
Unless I had a good reason.
if they were giving out consent forms for their participation in this de-identified network of EHR,
95% of the patients would say nothing.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but I guarantee you would have some people saying no.
Unless
Guarantee.
if there's a benefit back to the patient, yes.
No, there is no benefit, right?
Like if
This
they
is not
said
a
we will
benefit.
pay you like some kind of a big.
But they're not doing that.
No, but they're talking about this. That's why I
Okay.
bring up Bitcoin.
Okay.
If they say, okay, well, we
You get paid to
understand
do this.
you're de-identified, but we understand there's still a risk of security breaches and stuff. So in exchange, they're giving you Bitcoin or some kind of
Sure.
cryptocurrency.
$10, $100, whatever it might be.
But it's usually not Bitcoin. It's usually tied into some kind of blockchain currency.
Right.
There's a lot of startups. When
Right.
the blockchain thing was a bubble, which is coming back now.
Right.
Bitcoin's at 13,000.
Is it
You know?
really? I
Yeah.
haven't checked for like 3 weeks.
I got back into it at 10,000.
Okay.
9.
You should have got into it at 4.
I did, but I was trading it. I should have just nailed it.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's got a long way to go. I think Bitcoin's going to hit 100K at some point.
We'll see.
Yeah. So anyways, virtual trials, that was the theme at the IA. One of the many themes, like the handful of themes. A lot of suspect companies, business
Agreed.
models.
Agreed.
Recruitment's still going to be an issue. Technology doesn't solve the recruitment issue. Clinical research has a branding issue. If I stop here at this rooftop bar, right?
Right. There's like a what?
There's like 12 people here.
I was just gonna say a dozen people.
If I go one-on-one to everybody, maybe we should do this. I go one-on-one, one more vodka club, I'll do it. We'll go one-on-one with every person here and say, hey, I have a clinical trial, would you be interested? All of them. They might let me talk, because I'm a nice dude. Handsome. They might let me talk. But they would say, you know what? That sounds like I'm a guinea pig. Right?
Yeah.
Or that sounds like an experiment and I don't want to be part of it.
I would guess.
That's like 95%.
So whether the industry likes to admit it or not, the main reason most people participate in research is the payment, right? I would
Not
say,
in cancer.
No. I'm just saying, in general, right? No, people who are desperate for treatment of some sort, no, they're not doing it for payment.
Right.
But more
Like for acute illnesses.
exactly. But more often than not, I would say most people are participating for the payment, right? At least in my experience.
Or to have access to new treatments.
Yeah.
Maybe like nothing worked. And then
Okay, let's go percentage. What percentage do you think are participating almost strictly because of payment?
Well, the sites we on are bad examples because
Of course,
a lot
of course, just in general, best guess.
like 60.
6. Okay, I'd agree with that. And then the other 40.
Wow, we agree.
The other 40 are participating for their own benefit, for their own health, right?
Yeah. But that doesn't mean those 60 are not also seeing the other benefits.
Of course. They're either that's secondary to them, or they're just not aware of it.
You know the crazy thing about this, though? Because, again, clinical research has a branding problem when it comes to
Yeah.
patients. All these technologies are not going to do anything
Agreed.
to fix that. Do you know what the crazy thing is? You know how we said, and it's not us, they've done studies on this, like something like 90% of physicians who do their first study never do another one?
It's 90 or 80, but it's high.
Whatever it is, it's high for physicians. You know that's inverse for patients?
Yeah. Once they do one, they do another.
Something like 90, Center Watch did a study on this. 90% of patients who did a clinical trial said they
another.
would do it again.
Sure.
Another one again.
What?
So that means it's a good product. Horrible branding because we have Big Pharma running this. And who trusts Big Pharma? I work in the industry. I don't trust Big Pharma. Right?
Sure.
You do too.
Exactly. But getting back to your scenario here, a dozen people. See, I think you lose 60% right off the top because they're the
Well,
people
a lot
here,
of these
the
people look
demographic
healthy
here.
too.
A lot of the
Except that guy.
yeah. I'm looking at him too. The demographic here are well off, right? They're not going to do it for the money.
Right.
So you lose 60% right there. So 40% that you could maybe have a conversation with, right?
Right.
And is it something that they would be interested in? Is what you have, right? And even
Right.
then, they're leery of research just because it has a bad reputation.
So we'll end this podcast on a nice note I got a couple months ago, actually.
Did you do that?
I circled it, but I didn't write this. I don't leave comments on my
How
own
do you do
stuff.
the circle?
With the iPhone. You can edit a picture, you can like draw on it and stuff.
Julie does that too. I don't know how to do that.
You can do it on your phone. So thank you, Dan. I was able to get into clinical research. This ties back to the first topic. I was able to get into clinical research after I watched one of your videos where you advised me to offer myself for an unpaid internship position at a site. Ah,
Is this a student?
no,
Okay.
a random viewer.
Okay.
I did that, and today I'm a CRC.
Did they start out at recruiting?
They don't say. It's like a paragraph.
And today they're a CRC.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Good job.
It doesn't matter what they did, even if they started taking out the trash. They're a CRC now.
True, but I don't know if that would be a benefit to you. If you offered
in.
your services and they said, yeah, you can be the garbage man.
Yeah, I
All
would
right.
do it.
Fair enough.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening. We'll catch y'all later. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Fina. Bye-bye.